Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Going to be talking with Shari Rigby, actress from the movie October Baby, at a quarter after. Speaking of the sanctity of life issue, I want to turn our attention in this segment to what's going on in the Middle East. By the way, before we do that, here's our catastrophic global warming alert for the day. The temperature today in Vostok, Antarctica, and by the way, the Antarctic ice level is the highest for this date in recorded history. I'm not saying the highest ever, but the highest for September 17 that the Antarctic ice shelf or ice mass or whatever has ever been. More ice in Antarctica than there's ever been on a September 17 in recorded history. And the temperature today at Vostok, Antarctica, 119 degrees below zero. This is the coldest September surface temperature ever recorded on this planet. And here's a story from Iceland. They have snow in early September. It's not unheard of to have snow in early September, but they've had snow overnight of 2 to 3 meters, and they have thousands of sheep that have been buried alive in snowdrifts up in the highland pastures. So this potentially catastrophic for these farmers up there. They could lose their entire livestock. Why? Because of catastrophic global warming, dropping 3 meters of snow on their livestock. Now, I want to turn our attention to what's going on in the Middle East. Now, one of the things that's going on there is a tug-of-war between the Obama administration and Muslims about whether these attacks on our embassy in Egypt and the consulate in Libya, whether these attacks were spontaneous. Now, what we're being told, everybody wants us to believe is, hey, this video was posted online. It wasn't posted online. One source indicated to me this video wasn't even available online till September 10. I watched the trailer for this thing. It's about 14 minutes long. Watched it over the weekend. Absolutely wretched filmmaking. I mean, the production values in this thing are just pathetic. They're abysmal. It's just kind of an embarrassment that any kind of professional filmmaker would be associated with such a shabby product. But as I listened to the content, I could not discern any errors of fact in that video. Everything it says about Muhammad is true as far as I know. Now, there was an assertion that he's an illegitimate child. I don't know the answer to that. He may or may not be. I don't have enough information, didn't have time to research it. But everything else that it reveals about Muhammad or characterizes him as in that 13-minute trailer are true. It's just simply statement of truth. Now, it's crude, it's amateurish, dialogue is horrible, production values are abysmal, and yet what it is telling is the truth. So what the Obama administration wants us to believe is that this has got nothing to do with the United States. This is all about this movie. This is all about this horribly offensive movie. Some bad people made this movie. And by the way, that guy was taken into custody and interrogated by federal officials, rousted out of his house at midnight on Saturday, if you can believe it. They been surveilling his home like for 2 days, and they finally detained him, brought him out, put him in a squad car, and interrogated him downtown on Saturday night for making a movie. Criminally. Where's the Constitution in all of this? It's just crazy. Now, here is Ambassador Susan Rice. This is clip number 4, and she is on with Chris Wallace on Sunday morning, and Chris Wallace begins by talking about this issue of where this anger in the Muslim community is coming from. Is it really targeted at this movie, or is it in fact targeted at the United States? Here's how their exchange went.
This week, there have been anti-American protests in 24 countries across the Islamic world. The White House says it has nothing to do with the president's policies. Let's watch.
This is Jay Carney.
This is not a case of protests directed at the United States. writ large or at U.S. policy. This is in response to a video that is offensive.
You don't really believe that?
Chris, absolutely I believe that, because in fact it's the case. We've had the evolution of the Arab Spring over the last many months, but what sparked the recent violence was the airing on the internet of a very hateful, very offensive video that has offended many people around the world. Now, our strong view is that there's no excuse for violence. It's absolutely reprehensible and never justified. But in fact, there have been those in various parts of the world who have reacted with violence. Their governments have increasingly and effectively responded and protected our facilities and condemned the violence and this outrageous response to what is an offensive video. But there's no question that, as we've seen with in the past with things like Satanic Verses, with the cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, there have been such things that have sparked outrage and anger, and this has been the proximate cause.
So Susan Rice, she's the ambassador to the UN. Yeah, this is all about the movie. This has nothing to do with the U.S. This is an offensive movie, and it's all about a reaction to this movie, just like with the Satanic Verses. And Salman Rushdie was the author of that book. And by the way, the bounty on his head has now been raised, I think, to $300,000. Muslims will pay you $300,000 if you bring them the head of Salman Rushdie, the author of the Satanic Verses. And you got those cartoons about the Prophet Muhammad, 200 people dead rioting because somebody drew a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, here is the president of Libya, clip number 5, and he says what the ambassador to the UN, what Susan Rice is telling you, what Jay Carney is telling you, that is absolutely ludicrous, ridiculous, preposterous. Let's listen.
The idea that this criminal and cowardly act was a spontaneous protest that just spun out of control is completely unfounded and preposterous. We firmly believe that this was a pre-calculated, pre-planned attack that was carried out specifically to attack the U.S. consulate.
So the Libyan president says the ambassador to the UN, Jay Carney, they got no idea what they're talking about. They are clueless. This was clearly a premeditated attack, pre-planned, that was carried out specifically to attack the U.S. consulate. You know, the point I made in a tweet this morning, look, is they're not out there burning DVDs. If this was about the movie, they'd be burning DVDs. They'd be burning posters of the movie. They're not out there burning American flags. This is protest against the United States. Do we have time for the Allen West or not? Let's go Allen West. He's talking about same thing. Allen West.
Well, it's very simple. When I listened to the UN Ambassador Susan Rice today, several words came to mind: asinine, naive, inept, incompetent, and borderline ignorant. Because when you understand that the Egyptian government, their intelligence services, put out a letter talking about a potential threat of attacks and uprisings about a week before this. It was even printed in the Jerusalem Post on 9/11. And anyhow, I can tell you, Judge, having been in a combat zone several times after 9/11, we were always on a higher state of security and alertness on 9/11. It should have been the exact same thing here. And for Susan Rice to say that this was not a well-coordinated attack, first of all, I'd have to ask her what is her line of expertise and understand what a well-coordinated attack is, because this was not happenstance. It was not coincidence. This was well-planned, well-coordinated, and the president there in Libya confirms that.
That's Allen West telling the truth. Joe Scarborough out there, finally, MSNBC, saying, look, they hate us because of their religion. They hate us because of their culture. They don't hate us because of some movie. They hate us because of their religion. Finally, somebody in the mainstream media telling the truth. Back in 2, Focal Point AFR Talk. Don't go anywhere.
Here's Twyla Brace, president